like how to forgive myself, for you to be able to forgive someone else. And it's hard. Sometimes we say, I forgive you, but we don't really mean it.
We're back on ACT Podcast, and I have a special guest with us, and her name is Maria
Prieto.
Prieto. I told her I was going to butcher her name, but I don't want to butcher her last name. But she is going to come down here on this podcast to share a wonderful story about her transformation with God. And one of the reasons why we do this podcast is because I want to bring in people that have had an experience with God or having an experience with God and are running a business, because I know it's very difficult sometimes for us entrepreneurs when we're running our business. How does God play a part in our relationship, right, with our people that work with us and the people that we do business with? So she's going to share a little bit, and I know that some people thought that this was just going to be for the guys, but I'm going to bring on women as well into this podcast. So you are the first to be part of the show.
Ooh, I love it. I'm super glad that I'm the first one, and obviously to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes. And, I was super excited because I think it was last week, right? You got baptized.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, 2 Sundays ago.
2 Sundays ago, you got baptized, and I was super excited to see that. I think it's one of the best decisions, the most important decision that you can make in your life.
Yes.
Before anything, I think it's the most important thing. So really excited. We're going to get into that as well. How did that all happen? But tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is Maria?
Well, before I start, thank you so much for your invitation. I feel super glad to be here to talk to people that is into entrepreneurship, right? Into business, into like change their life, but also with God. That's I don't want to say it's weird, like rare to find, but it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to be an entrepreneur. It's hard to be someone who's looking towards being a better person, plus involving God into their lives, their business, their relationship, their family, and whatnot. So thank you so much.
Of course.
So my name is Maria Prieto. I'm from Colombia. I've been in the United States for 7 years already. And I started on social media as a fitness entrepreneur, as a fitness influencer.
Okay.
Yes. So everything started because I had anemia and eating disorder problems. So I ate something and I felt like I just wanted to throw it up all the time. So I just couldn't hold anything. So I was 20 years old and my weight was 89 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. But I knew all the time, like I didn't have the money to pay for a trainer or someone to help me for the crisis that I was going through. But I realized that everything was mental. So I wanted to change my life, and I did everything empirically. That's how you say it.
Yeah.
I started like look up on Google how to eat better, and everything. It has 2 things. The common factor that I saw on Google all the time was God and mindset. God and mindset.
That's
God
interesting.
Every time. So I started to like changing my eating habits and going to the gym by myself. Like I didn't know how to. I remember I didn't know how to use any single machine at the gym, but I was there at 5 a.m. Like I had no idea what I was doing, but I was there at 5 a.m. So I look up to the people that I saw. I like her. I would like to look like her. Let me see what she does. So I kind of like faked something, and then I saw her, and then she left, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do what she's doing, and that's how I started. A year and a half after, I did my first bikini competition. So I started competing. I won 5 of the biggest competitions in South Florida.
This was in South Florida. So
Yes.
you're already in Florida, and then you were winning these competitions. Okay.
Yes, that was life-changing.
Wow.
In a sense of like, I got to the point that I did it myself. It was a full-on journey. It was very long, almost 2 years. But I did it myself, and I had the discipline, and I had the mindset, and I knew something was wrong with me emotionally, and I just didn't love the way I felt. You know, everything changed when I went to the hospital because I felt super down. My eyes were yellow, this purple, and I was super skinny, just didn't have energy for anything. So they put VA, they put iron.
IV.
Yeah, IV, iron. And it's very, the liquid is not, it's very hard to put it in. So when I saw it, I just.
You fainted.
Yes, I fainted.
Wow.
So when I walk up, it's still there. And the guy's like, stay still. And I just fainted again.
Wow.
And when I walk up, he's like, you're done. We're okay. And I was like, oh my God. So when I went back home, I looked at myself in the mirror and I saw me and I was like, wow, I don't want this for me. You know, like, this is horrible. And I was going through life change. So I had a boyfriend in Colombia before I came here. And he was physically abused and emotionally abused, like every type of abuse you can imagine. I was going through that. So when I came here, I saw it at the beginning as like, oh, my life is ended. You know, my life ended. Like, there is no point. I don't even know what I'm going to do.
So when you got here to Florida.
I escaped in Colombia from his house because we used to live together. So I escaped. 5 days. I was waiting for my documents to come to the United States since I was 13 years old. That was the first miracle I ever experienced from God. And then one day I said, this is not for me. I packed in a trash bag 2 outfits, my phone, my charger, and I ran out. Like, I left. I didn't know where I was going, but I left. And I ended up in my grandmom's house. And 5 days after, I got an email from the U.S. Embassy saying that I have the appointment 3 days after. And then 15 days after, I landed in Miami.
Wow.
And it was like, I was waiting. Can you imagine? I was waiting for that since I was 13. And it was something going on all the time. Every year, something. The embassy said, no, blah, 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 blah. Like, one document wrong, blah, blah, blah. But just when I made that decision, 15 days after, I was in the United States.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because of, you know, you recognizing that something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that go through that, what you went through when it comes to the eating disorder, you know, you're looking at yourself and you're just realizing, man, there's something wrong here. And I think a lot of women go through that. What is it? What do you think that triggers that type of behavior or that type of mindset when it comes to women doing that to themselves? Because I know that for some people, they might be ignorant when it comes to it and look at that and say, well, why are you doing that to yourself?
Right. I think, so women, we're more emotionally. We're extremely emotionally. We have a lot of hormones and whatnot. And I think self-esteem is something that we really deal with since we're like kids. Even the women that are super egocentric and that you see that they look super powerful, and they still have that problem.
Yes.
I'm telling you. Actually, they have it probably more than a regular normal that is more like quiet, right? But everything is about insecurities and self-esteem. Like, we really have to wake up in gratitude and be like, this is what I am. I'm worth. I'm enough. I'm beautiful. And repeat it to yourself, because everything you say to your brain, you believe it. And sometimes we're not even conscious about it. We say like, oh my God, I feel sad today. You already start wrong. Yeah. You know, like, you have to say, even if you feel sad and if you are going through something that is super bad, you have to wake up and say it and be like, today is going to be an amazing day. Today is going to be the best day of my year. Yeah. And if you say it, probably it might not be the best day of your year, but at least you had the attitude, and that will change everything. That will change everything you do. And women, we tend to be very emotional. So if you kind of like punch me here, I'll be like, crying. If I punch you, you might not be crying, right? Because you're stronger. You're less emotional. But you guys
I get emotional sometimes too, but it's all
right. But we tend to be more. And so we need to like develop that security from God. So we know that God is gonna forgive you. We know God loves you. We know God is gonna protect you. We know God. So if you know that, you wake up with a different mindset. If you know that, you wake up with a different attitude, even though you're going through the worst of the worst. Yeah.
I think, and again, it goes back to, you know, that mindset. But, you know, I see you really mentioning a lot about God, right? Everything that you're talking about, you're saying God, mindset. So were you always like that? Were you always thinking about God because I know you just got baptized recently. So was your journey, you always deep down inside, you said, God is present in my life. I just don't know what is going on. I just don't know who he is. How was your journey with God? How did you?
Okay, so I was raised by a single mom
Okay.
and my grandmom. So my grandmom is like my second mom, and she was the one who leads me ever since I was a little kid to go to God. But I was raised a Catholic.
Okay.
So I loved it. She got me into this group of kids, and I was the one who with the red thing on Christmas singing, and I loved it. And I just really, I could say that I really enjoy ever since I was a little baby, to go to church and surround myself with people who also believe in God. But what I would accept is that I thought that I knew a lot about God, and that was my first biggest mistake. Because when people think that, oh yeah, I'm X and Y, your religion, I believe in God, and then your action doesn't really seems to be like, oh, you believe in God and you know about God. Like right now, I could say like have zero idea about God.
Right.
Right. It's like when you're driving. I think I told you about this example. Is when you're driving, right? You have this amazing exotic car and you're super excited. That's your life. The best car, the best exotic car. You're driving it and you don't even realize the speed that you're going, right? And then you see all the way there a police officer, and you just slow down, right? That's the first thing that we're gonna do.
Right.
Why do we slow down? Because we know what's gonna happen, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's life. When you don't know about God, you might not even slow down. You might crash, right? But if you start learning about God, values, everything, and you start like actually seeing the why of, or the why I should not, then you slow down because the police officer is over there and you don't want to have the ticket and you don't want to be in trouble, right?
That's right.
Right. So you don't see the police in your life, but he sees you all the time. So I think I was, this part that says in the Bible that you cannot be you're either cold or hot, but not in the middle, right? Because that's the worst. So I'll say I wasn't a bad person, but I was kind of like in the middle. Sometimes I said like, oh yeah, God, 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 but my actions probably didn't even fit into what actually believing in God, right? And I learned that through the church that I'm going now. And I started going there in October 2022. And that changed my life.
Wow. So you've been going more into the Bible. Have you been studying the Bible? How's your connection with God? Like, how do you find that connection with God? Because again, like, you said something that I think it's important to see and to understand, right? We can go based on feeling and say, oh, I know God, I feel God, but your actions don't speak what you're saying, right? So what changed in that? What's changing in that? Is it because you're spending more time with God? How do you spend more time with God? Okay. Is it through the word? Is it through studying? Is it through going to church how does that work for you?
So like right now I'm doing everything in a sense, like I just feel so happy doing it. I always like to serve. So we go to these events that we have like once a month, and I love to, we feed the homeless, or we help to organize the donations and stuff like that, clean the city. Plus, I also have a group of women. We started in October 2020. No, wait. We started actually last year, October 2023. Yes. And that was amazing because I was praying to God, like, I need to change the people that I'm like going out with.
Right.
Like if you really want to change your life, business-wise, with God, personal life, even fitness, whatever you want, you need to make sure that the 5 people that is around you, it's going to the same direction.
That's right.
Because if you're with 5 alcoholic people, you might be the 6th. So you have to be very careful. And that's a process that you have to live, and you will be alone. You'll be very alone when you start like doing transitions like that. If it's for your friendships, your relationships, maybe work, whatever it is, it's going to be hard. It's going to be alone, but you're going to learn how to be alone by yourself, and you're going to be more wise when choosing a friend, when choosing the people that is going to be around you. So I met this girl at the church, and she is entrepreneur too. So I was like, well, we should like get together. And she's like, yes, I always wanted to have a group, blah, blah, blah. So we started creating this group. She's the leader, obviously. She's into God like way before than I was.
That's awesome.
But that helped me a lot to understand more the Bible, because sometimes when you read, it's super hard to understand. Like
Sure.
you read and you know what you're reading, but you don't understand. It's different.
Yeah.
So you like actually need to, it's good when you have someone that knows better than you. Like business. It's good that you have a mentor, right? Because that person might help you to scale faster and maybe not step on the floor in a wrong. Right.
So you're basically in the beginning phases, learning about God through Scripture.
Yes.
You have a mentor. You have someone that's like this person.
She's actually part of the group. Plus, I have a mentor.
Okay.
And my friends, for some reason, so I graduated myself from high school when I was 14. So my friends were like 18, 20. I graduated myself from the university in Colombia when I was 17. So my friends were like 25, 30.
Right.
So my best friend, for example, she's 40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my friends are always like older than me.
They're older, so yeah.
And
so you grew up fast.
for some reason, I always love to have people that are like
More mature.
more mature, yes. Yeah. Like I relate more, right? And so I met this woman. She's fabulous. Her name is Lynn. She changed my life. And I met her recently. I knew about her probably since October last year. But we actually started reading the Bible and talking. And she started like giving me a great advices since January 2024. And she changed so many things, like how I see things, how blah, blah, blah. And it's good because sometimes reading the Bible is not enough. Sometimes if you're not reading the Bible, but you're going to church, sometimes that's not enough,
Right.
So if you really feel that you're doing something good, that it helps you, you need to like go deeper into that, because you want to have your best version. No, you can't be just comfortable with, oh yeah, I go to church on Sundays, or no, I don't go to church, but I read sometimes. It's not something that you also have to be like addicted to it and be like, oh, I just can't, right? But like if something is doing good for you, why wouldn't you?
Of course, yeah. And, and that's the thing, building a relationship with God is on a daily basis, right? We're talking about working out, how I don't like working out. And it's super important, for you to take care of your body. And it's the same thing when it comes to your spiritual life. If you're not committing yourself on a daily basis, building a relationship with God, you're really not going to understand. And it goes back to that example you gave about the traffic light, right? If you don't know the rules, you're going to crash. And those rules for a lot of people that are out there, it might seem like God is restricting you from the pleasures or happiness or all those other things. And it's not. It's to keep you well. It's to keep you healthy. It's to give you prosperity, right? And the more you start building that relationship, and the more you start getting older and you start growing, you start realizing, wow, these principles are so important, even for my relationships, for my business, for everything in general. It's just beneficial for me. So when people tell me, they ask me, are you wasting your time, following God and this and that? Of course not. So beneficial. What am I losing? And I remember my dad told me that one time. He said, son, think about it like this. Let's say that Scripture, the Bible, is fake. It's man-made and it's just completely false. Right? Let's just say it's fake. Are you really losing anything by applying it? Right? Are you really losing time? He said, no, because I'm taking care of my life. I'm doing everything I can to treat others with respect, with love. I have hope. There's just so many benefits in it, right? But let's say it is real, right? Let's say it is real, which I believe it is, and you decide not to follow it. Who's really losing here? Do you understand? So the only thing that I see when it comes to Scripture is benefit.
Yes.
It has transformed my life in so many ways. And I will continue in every podcast to share that and say, God has truly transformed me and it's through experience, and it's through applying what's in here in your life. Nothing else. Nothing else.
Right. And you mentioned something important, which is like faith. Like, if let's say it's not real,
Right.
right? But faith actually make you to do things that you think you weren't able to do.
Right.
It's like, there is a super powerful thing on top of you that is gonna protect you, and if it's for you, it's gonna work.
Right.
And you just go like, oh, I have faith. This is gonna work. I know he believes in me. He's gonna protect me. And you just do it, and you actually commit it and make it even bigger and better, right? So it's like faith move mountains.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. And again, you're in the beginning phases of your walk with God, and you're just gonna see more and more how that relationship is going to just blossom. But it's very important that you maintain that, you continue that walk. And it's the same thing, I always mention this, and it's not to throw numbers out there. I've been with my wife for 24 years. And, some people think, oh, how did you do it? It's like, listen, it's only by the grace of God and having God in the center of that, we've made it. And I don't like to use that word. We make it work. No. You need to be happily married. Yes. But does marriage require work? Yes. A lot of work. So you have to continue to work and invest, right? If I stop telling my wife that I love her, there's going to be some stuff that's going to happen, right? I'm going to distance myself, or, that's a reflection of how I'm feeling. If I'm not taking her out to dinner, or I'm not doing certain things, I'm not bringing her flowers, and I'm mentioning this, I got to remember when she gets back from Europe, I got to do that, right? But these are things that if I don't maintain that relationship, especially the communication, that relationship is going to fall apart, right? It doesn't matter if you're 30, 40 years in a relationship. That doesn't hold a relationship. What holds a relationship is that communion, right? It's that daily devotion, is that daily, I don't know how to put it, but just, you're working together in that relationship.
I love it. And I will say that if you have God into your relationship, it's gonna work. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm saying it because if you don't, then your brain and your heart will be like, well, I'm not gonna tolerate it. Like, what am I even doing here? I can just go out and I'm jogging, beautiful white. I'm not gonna lose my time. It's gonna be like, it's been just 1 year. I'm leaving out. I'm out, right? There is no purpose. But instead, if you actually commit to that person that is obviously making you happy, and then you guys both are in the same page, and you let God take control of your relationship, that's gonna be a blessing.
Oh yeah.
And if the two persons that are in the relationship, if they both are in the same yoke, how you say?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Right. It's the same yoke, basically.
Yoke, exactly. So it's gonna be easier. Everything. I'm not saying a relationship is gonna be easy. It's actually hard. But I would say that it's easier in a sense that if you both know what you have to do, it's gonna be reciprocated.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's gonna work. It's not gonna be perfect. It's gonna be actually super hard.
Yeah.
But you have a purpose and you have a center. So you guys are both grabbing that centerpiece, right? And then you just walk around it together. You know? But if you don't have it, you just walk around and then one day you just leave because of the the force, whatever, right? You just leave. Like, there is no point for me to be here, right? I'm doing the wifey role and I'm not even the wife. So why would I?
Exactly.
Or why would you even propose?
Yeah. So and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of, issues that are happening, especially here. I mean, we live in Miami, so Miami is a very attractive place, right? And there's a lot of situations. I think it's in general, right? I mean, the divorce rate is very high. The amount of people who look at marriage today do not value what marriage really represents. It's becoming this idea of, hey, if we're together, we're married, but there's no commitment to it, you know? And I think that as a society, we have disvalued a lot of these things. And this is why scripture, even though a lot of people say, hey, this is something written 2,000 years, 3,000 years ago, you know, it's old things. No. These are things that are still applicable for your life. And it's super important to apply these things. There's a reason why God gave these instructions for us, right? Because he knows that we have this, we create these ideas of how we should live our lives, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You know, you can do whatever you want, but there's like, it's like the laws of physics, right? If I drop something, it's going to fall. See, God has his laws, and I always try to explain this to people. See, God, when he has his laws, it's not that God is in heaven and you break his law and then he's there and he's going to strike you. Right when you commit that error, he's going to strike you. He doesn't do that. What he does is he gives you these laws, and he's saying, Maria, don't go there. Don't pass this line, because if you pass this line, the laws of physics are going to say you're going to suffer the consequences. Not that I want to punish you. I love you very much. I don't want you to suffer, but just don't pass that line. So we have to start understanding that God, he wants our happiness. He wants us to succeed.
Right.
And that's why his laws are so important. And that's why when we talk about marriage, we talk about relationships, we talk about all these things. These are super important to apply. And then when you apply it, you see the benefits.
Right. You know, I have this group of women. So we do a weekly call that I coach. It's called M.E.F.F, mental, spiritual, financial, and physical. And we always talk about God. At the beginning, when I started, I was like, well, I don't want to like, if you feel uncomfortable, we're going to talk about God. Now it's like, I don't even say any, pre-frame anything. I'm like, you guys know how I talk. And I just go there, and I always said, like, how important it is for a woman to, like, understand what God's saying in the Bible, you know, because sometimes we tend to see what is going on around, and you just mentioned it. Like, Miami is super hard. Yeah. Like, you know, Miami life. It's
we're going to get into that. Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're not conscious, if you don't do like a conscious effort of understanding what you should do or not, you're just gonna go with the flow. You go with all the fishes on the water, you know?
Right.
And so we talk about the values of a woman. We talk about relationship. And I'm always trying to, not empowering them to be like, oh, you know, you're independent. Nobody's gonna do anything to you. Need to have your own money so you will never accept anything in your life. You know, like, I hate that, actually.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But I encourage them to be like, it doesn't matter if you do $1,000, $1, $10, or $1 billion a month.
Right.
If you're with the right man, it won't matter, right?
Right.
But what matters is for you to have a purpose in life. That actually matters, and that's gonna matter to the actual, to the good man that is gonna be next to you. So having a purpose, that's a life changing. And for you to find your purpose, you need to pray and ask God so you can find it faster, or if you can, like, realize it, right? Because sometimes we just try to find it in this and that, and maybe this, it didn't work, and we didn't even have the consistency and whatnot. So I started as a fitness influencer. And I had these program so you can increase your glutes and whatnot, right? So I was all the time making videos at the gym, filming. I was doing bikini competitions. And then one day I said, like, why am I even posting so many bikini pictures? I wasn't, like, unrespectful. It was, like, classy style and whatnot, but still, you know? And I said, if I'm in a relationship, I don't think that person would like me to be in bikinis all the time, right? And I want a relationship, and I want to be with someone. And so I need to start becoming the woman that I'm supposed to be for that person. So when that person comes into my life, it will be something that is going to work.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think, you know, you touched up on something important, right? I think you reflecting that and realizing that, because, you know, we spoke briefly about this before the podcast, and that was, you know, you being a woman and you being in that industry, right? And this is where a lot of the the issues that we find today when it comes to relationships, right? And again, we're talking here about Miami because we live here, and you know the lifestyle and everything. You know, I think a lot of women, and you can correct me, and this is why I brought you on here. I think it's very important. Is women, they're more valued when it comes to social media, whatever you post on there, on how you look, right? And I remember influencers, women, they would come to me to see if they wanted to collab with me on content. And they would show me their followings, and they would have basically 1 million followers, or they would have just a large amount of followers. But then I would look very closely to their content, and their content was basically them in bikinis, almost half naked, and very attractive, right? But when I saw the comments and I saw the conversations on there, they were more men just basically, you know, just going off on the photos that they were watching. So are you an actual influencer? Or are you promoting something else? How did you see that? Because I think, is that something that you saw for yourself and you said, let me change this image that I'm putting out there?
Yeah, so because fitness changed my life, right? Because I was having all of those problems and whatnot, and I did it myself, and it was a 2 years full on process that I lived, and I loved it, and I changed my life. But then I got to the point that what I said, like, surround yourself with the right people, because I was doing bikini competitions all the time. So everybody around me was doing bikini pictures and bikini competitions, right? So I was like, okay, I always knew I had something more than, I know I'm beautiful. You know, like I see myself in the mirror, and I love myself.
Right.
You know, and I know how hard it is for me to look the way I look. It's super hard, and it requires a lot of commitment, discipline, mindset, right? But I was like, I have more than this. You know, I want to give more than this. Every 10 clients, 7 were men, and they just wanted to talk to me on the sales call.
Wow.
And I was like, I just don't.
So you jump on the sales call. They wanted to jump on the sales call with you? My goodness. Okay.
I know. But it wasn't like, I never had any bad experience, like
Right.
Because my pictures were
nothing
like,
with disrespect or anything like that.
Yeah, my pictures are, I'm not, sometimes when I say bikini pictures, it probably, like, people already imagine, like, those girls with nothing crazy. But yeah, I still have that. So I say, like, this is not even worth it. You know, in one day, October 2022, I deleted everything. I closed off the programs, everything. I said, I'm going to change it. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I had zero idea. But I said, I'm going to find out. And that's when I started getting close to God. And I said, I need help. Like, in a sense, like, obviously, social media, it's for attention. Even if you're an entrepreneur or
doesn't matter,
business, that's for attention.
Right.
So you will never put yourself out there like, oh, I'm miserable today, or, oh, you know, like stuff like that. You just want to sell the best picture, right? You just post whatever you want people to believe that you are.
Right.
That's it. And as a woman, we post pictures, and that helps you to, when you get a like, it gets to the point that it makes you feel good, you know? And I think I was getting into that. That's why I stopped it.
So it's like an addiction. You start feeling that addiction. I need to feel like, yes, you like how I look.
Yeah, exactly. Like
verification.
Verification, that's the word. So you just wanted to have that attention and verification from others, right? And I would like to say that when I stopped posting that content and I started transitioning my content, like putting stuff like talking, or not gym stuff, but like me, my engagement went all the way to the floor.
Wow.
I started losing followers, and I was posting even more constantly.
Yeah.
And I started losing followers, and I at the beginning it kind of like hit me a lot. I was like, oh my God, I used to have 8,000 views in my stories now, and I was just like crushing it. And now it's like I wasn't even sure if I was doing it right, you know, like, oh, did I actually make a good decision or not, whatever. But I knew there is something that always worked to me, which is discipline and consistency. And that's something that I just keep doing. And then it took me probably up until October last year, November, that everything started working again. It took me probably like a year.
Wow.
to recover my account like organically and like.
So
just
now you
building
got real followers.
like the people I want. Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Because it's not basically just on your looks. And again, I think I even go with my wife. You know, there's sometimes that she would put something on Instagram where I don't feel comfortable with her putting that on there, right? And she does it, and I know that the intentions is just to feel good and to receive that verification, which she gets that verification from me, but it's not enough, right? It's sometimes women just need to receive some type of more input out there, and just like, I don't know what it is, and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, you don't really need to do all that.
Yeah. I think, okay, it depends on what you really want, right? Because I will say that even if it's a woman or a man, you know, like, we have our beauty, you guys have the money, for me to say it, in Miami. We're talking about Miami.
Right.
So we are beautiful, you guys have money, so you guys flash your cars, your luxurious life, and we just flash our beautiful faces, right?
Right.
So it's like a competition in that sense, if that makes sense. You guys probably are not flashing your bodies, right? But our money is in what we probably look like, right? So sometimes we really get into this life, Miami style, or probably not even Miami, anywhere else. That you just want to like be part or better, right? And you start like having this competition with others, and you start following the wrong people. That's super crazy, because you have to be careful. Who are you watching on social media? If you go to Instagram and you click on the little home thing, like not the home, but when you want to search for something. Right. If you click on in that little thing, it's gonna recommend you the content that you normally see.
Oh yes,
right?
yes, it does. Yeah.
It will show you people that you don't follow, but it will show you like what the algorithm seems that you're interested in. Right. There is no way to change that. If you go right now to your phone and you click there and you just say half naked girls there, you're doing something wrong, my friend. Right. If you're a woman and you just see millionaires there and you just looking out for money out there, you're doing something wrong. You know, like, I really beg people right now to look up to your phone and see what the algorithm is saying that you're interested on.
Wow.
Because social media is taking over. You know, we spend a lot of time there. And first you need to have control of that. You need to like put yourself in a position that you put like, I have an option where after 1 hour, it kind of
I started doing that too.
Yes, so it tells you like, hey, you already spent 1 hour. I'm gonna block your Instagram.
Started doing that too.
That's amazing, because consciously you're like, oh wow, I've been on Instagram a lot, right? And that's the first thing. Second, what are you actually following? Because those are your deep down desires. Maybe you say like, oh no, I don't want that, but you're watching it. So being fit is not only about going to the gym. Being fit is not only about what you eat.
Right.
But what you see, what you listen to, what you think, and where you're going
Absolutely.
every day. So attention on social media, it's just taking over. And as a woman, we tend to follow these ladies and women that are so beautiful because they are beautiful. And you just say like, oh my God, I want to be like her. Deep down. Like, oh my God, she did it, why I cannot? I'm more beautiful than her. I can do it better.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So you actually find the wrong competition.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, you have to put a mirror in front of you and be like, how am I going to be better for me?
Yeah.
How am I going to be best version of what I am right now?
Yeah.
You know, and be my own competition. Because yesterday I wasn't the same person that I am today.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you look at myself 3 years ago, I wasn't even probably like, not even 1%. I don't want you even to say 1% of what I am right now, you know, but just maturity, situations, and God is going to help you and he's going to guide you, but you have to like focus and be careful with what you eat.
I like that. I like that so much. And, you know, you touched up on that topic on, women are focused on the millionaires, those who with money, and women have to focus on their beauty. And that's the absolute truth, you know, and I always mention that to my guys, And again for the women, because there's this idea that women are gold diggers, right? They're looking for men with money, which it is the case. In a lot of situations, women are looking for security,
I was gonna say
which
that.
which is not an issue. It's not a problem. Women were built that way. They want to feel like they're secure, that they feel protected. So the only issue is that women now are they're focusing more on that and not looking at the quality of the guy.
Right.
Right. And then when it comes to the women per se, it's more on how I look instead of what's in here.
Right.
And I want to read something here, which I think is very interesting when we're doing this. This is a devotional. It's in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 3 and 4. And it says this here: do not let your adoring be external, the braiding of your hair and the putting on of gold jewelry or the clothing you wear. But let your adoring be the hidden person of the heart, with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is in God's sight which is very precious. Here he's talking about the women.
I know it.
Don't let the external, right, be the most important thing, but let it be what's in here. Right. What's in here. That's the most important thing, because I've sat down with women who spoke to me a lot about their relationships and it didn't work and this and that. And I'm like, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, you're so intelligent. When I'm having these conversations, I'm sitting down with them and they're really intelligent women. But their focus is, and I'm telling them, I'm saying, look, you are an attractive person, but you're attracting the guys just by your looks. That's it. Yeah. Have a conversation with that person. Sit down with that person so they can see who you really are instead of what they're just focusing on, and that's just your body.
Right.
So it's a game we have to play, but you're going to choose what you really want in your life.
Yes, for sure.
I
think from my perspective, like when a man, I've seen millionaires, like I'm telling you, I could say even billionaires. They're so rich, so much money. But internally, I've never seen someone as poor as that person, Yeah. And I've seen it with like real life. I've also seen guys saying like, oh, I believe in God. But their actions are like zero.
Right.
With what God. Well, I don't know what's your God, but
yeah.
Right? Same with women, sometimes we tend to focus so much in like, oh, let's do the Botox and let's do this, and which is okay, it's fine, right? Being a wealthy man, it's amazing, right? But as a woman, like we also have to make sure we go to our beauty, mental, spiritual,
absolutely,
like balance, right? Because beauty is gonna be gone one day. You have to make sure you're with a man who's gonna take care of you and love you without that beautiful case that you have, right?
Exactly.
It's gonna be over. So make sure that you choose the person that you're with wisely, right? Because if he chooses you for how you look today, he might leave you for how you're gonna look later, and he's gonna choose something better, younger, and more attractive, right?
That's absolutely.
And same with men. If you choose, if a man has a lot of money, right? Let's say he treats you like a queen, but he's only thinking about money, 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 money. And as a person, he's as poor as any other human. That person's gonna lose everything tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if that person chooses someone who's just looking at him for his money, he's gonna lose that person too, because he won't be able to treat her the way he was doing it, right?
Absolutely.
And I would say that there is nothing as beautiful as and powerful as a woman that it's with someone who has nothing and at the same time who has everything. Like you have everything, you lose it. You have everything, you lose it. Because that's being an entrepreneur.
Right.
That's like a roller coaster. You never have everything secure. Anything can happen every day, right? Because you're the owner, right? It's not like you get the paycheck secure every month, right? So the man has to be very wise when choosing a woman, because there's so many beautiful women out there, you know. But what about their brains?
Exactly.
What about their hearts?
Exactly. And that's what, when it comes to a man choosing a woman, when it's, in those conditions, we're looking for someone that's going to be a partner.
Right.
Right. And the beauty part does play a part. And I'm just giving you my example. I met my wife very young and everything. And, I had my past experiences. I did a lot of crazy stuff before she met me. But I wasn't attracted to her physically, which surprised me because, again, I'm a guy, so, I'm looking at the physical. But there was nothing, I wouldn't say nothing. I just wasn't attracted to her physically. But it was the person she was. She was this person that, spiritually loved God. I met her in the church, and it just intrigued me how she treated me. And I remember, what, sold the deal, what closed the deal between, my relationship with her was when I had to, I carried a huge weight on my back when it came to my past, and I gave my life back to God, and I was building relationship back with God. And now I met this very special person, which she was basically this innocent person, right? And I had to tell her about my past. And I remember, telling her, I'll say, look, I'm going to tell you my past because I don't want you to get into a relationship not knowing who I was. So I started opening up with her, and I started telling her my story. And she was just quiet. She didn't say anything. She was just quiet. And then after, she just told me, she said, that's your past. God has forgiven you. And man, those words, when she spoke those words to me, it just lifted this weight off my back. And I said, wow, she accepts me for who I am today because God has forgiven me. So that was super powerful. So again, I always tell people that my love for my wife grew in time. I didn't love her in the beginning. It grew as we grew together. And that's the thing. And that's where I think a lot of women and, and men too, when you're getting into a relationship, I think it's very important that you get to know that person. And I say this specifically. I tell my wife, I'm dying to have a daughter, but at the same time, I'm not. I don't want to have a daughter, right? For some reason, I have a connection with with the girls, right? And I tell her this, if I have a daughter, it's going to be a big problem for me. And so I'm always trying to look out for women in that aspect. So I'm always telling women, I'm like, listen, when you meet somebody, try not to give yourself to that person immediately. Because when you do that, that's the most valuable thing that you have. Yeah. For men, it's not. Men can just go on and on and on and on and on. Yeah. But when it comes to women, it's sacred. Yes. It's special. So you want to maintain that. But the beautiful thing about all this is that when God comes into your life, God renews us. It's like God resets everything and says, now you are a new creature. You are a new person. Do things differently, because I know for sure if you want to build a family, you want to build a relationship with that person you want to grow a family with, I'm telling you, you put God first and you apply those principles, God is going to bless your marriage. God is going to bless your family. God is going to bless your business. No doubt whatsoever. So, yeah, I think, the times that we're living today, it's this idea of, I need to secure that person, so let me just give him everything that I have.
Yeah. As a woman, I think if the man really is, if the man is a wise man and he knows what he wants, he will really respect you and wait until you feel secure and be with him.
Absolutely.
And that person will respect it. If that person doesn't agree, that person will try to brainwash you and be like, oh, well, we're old and so we're in another stage of age and we just need connection.
Yeah.
What? no.
Yeah.
Like there is not rush.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to actually get to know the person before you actually give yourself to someone else.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about forgiveness. Forgiveness is such a topic because we're not perfect. Every day we're doing something wrong every day, intentionally or not intentionally.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I learned about forgiveness last year, and I think it's probably the hardest thing for a human being.
Mm.
It's starting from yourself, like how to forgive myself,
Mm.
for you to be able to forgive someone else.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Sometimes we say, I forgive you,
Mm.
but we don't really mean it. Sorry.
You're good.
But you really need to believe in God and forgive yourself and ask God to forgive you. And I'm telling you that there is one day that you will wake up and you'll feel like a brand new human. You will feel that God forgave you for whatever you did or for whatever you didn't do. Or He will help you to heal inside and forgive someone else. And you literally will be able to just close your eyes, open it, and it's like a new day. You forgot about everything. You're not resenting. You feel peace. You feel that way, and your shoulders are it's just over. You feel it. I don't even know how to explain it, but you feel it.
Yep.
In your soul, in your heart, in your brain, how you sleep, how you breathe, how you think, your thoughts. And forgiveness is just as hard, but as beautiful as it could be. And after you feel that God forgave you, there is no one that can come in front of you and be like, oh, I don't know if I forgive you already. At that point, if you already made that and you already went all the way to believe that God really forgave you and you really changed and you really know that that won't happen again, or you really know that the person who did it won't do that again, and you want to like really work on it, there is no one that can come in front of you and be like, oh, you're not I can't forgive you, or can treat you bad, can kind of like make you feel bad about it anymore. Because there is no way. God forgave us for everything we do. I forgave myself. I'm changing. I'm working on myself. There is no power that can come in front of me and say like, oh, you know what? You have to feel bad about it. Not anymore. Because you know that God changed your life. And it's crazy because talking about the baptism.
Yeah.
I tried to get baptized last year, like 3 times.
Wow.
One time, the first time, I missed it.
Uh-huh.
I realized it was last weekend. And I was like, what? And I wanted to. And then the second time, something happened. It says like it was full or something. And then the third time, I had a trip. So I couldn't make it. And I just couldn't cancel that trip. I was so overwhelmed. And I was mad. I had a fight with God.
Wow.
Actually. I was mad because I was just trying to work in something. And I was praying so much in that. You know, when you're praying, like, God, please help me. Life, I'm working on this. I did this, that. I'm full on committed. And it doesn't work. And life shakes you and super hard. And you're still there like, no, this is for me. I want this. And then you realize that that's actually God listening to you saying, like, that's not for you.
That's right.
Period. And that's why I think God in life didn't let me get baptized, because I wasn't ready for that, because I was probably obsessed in my plans, in what I wanted, but not what He wanted. Yeah. And that's important, to learn to respect God's plans and not yours.
That's right. That's right. You know, and going back to that, the forgiveness, because I think forgiveness is a key element for us to have a relationship with God, for us to understand who God is, right? God shed His blood. Jesus shed His blood for us, right? He paid the penalty that we deserve. And this is very important for you to listen to this. God says, if you don't forgive, right, He cannot forgive. So if you don't learn how to forgive, and it's interesting that phrase that He says that, because it makes total sense when you think about it. If you don't learn how to forgive someone, okay, you are never going to understand what forgiveness means and what Jesus did on the cross for us. You're not going to comprehend it. So he wants you to take part in that process of forgiveness, of forgiving others. Because when you apply it, then when you're in that situation, you're going to learn that God, because he loves you so much, he has forgiven you.
Right.
You will never understand salvation if you do not apply forgiveness on others. Point blank.
Right.
So it's very important that we apply these things. God does these things because Jesus did those things, because he tried to give us an example of how it's done. So he wasn't just by words, but by action. He didn't just preach it, he showed it. So we have to apply. If he did it, we have to do the same thing too.
Right.
You know, and again, when it comes to our relationships, again, business, everything, God needs to be in the center of all that.
Yes.
All the
definitely.
decisions that we make.
I'm telling you, my fitness business didn't really skyrocket.
Right.
I made money from it, but it didn't really like skyrocket.
Right.
And I was like, okay. So I changed everything and I said, okay, I'm going to do something about hair. Because this is my natural hair. I said, like, this is the perfect topic, blah, blah. And I love creating content. So I started like working in this formula. And then it was so expensive for me to start. And I was like, wow, I need to find money. And I was like, no, let me find something cheaper. So I started,
Right.
and plus I lost all of those followers and engagement. So I was like, oh my God, how am I even gonna sell one single shampoo if I don't even have a follower?
Right. Right.
So I just started getting into, like, I met someone. He needed to promote his business. And I said, and he didn't want to create the content. And I said, well, I didn't have it back then. I had a lot of friends, girlfriends.
Right. Right.
And I said, well, I have a lot of
You
girls.
were faking it to make it,
Yes.
right?
I said, I have a lot of girls. Let me train them for you. And we're going to make the content for you. Yes, let's do it. I did it, and we just skyrocketed.
That's awesome.
And I did that for like 7 months. And then I was like, wait, now I'm going to teach these girls. But that's my academy. Now you guys have to pay for me to give you the job that you have. Because that's an
awesome.
ROI offer.
Right.
So that's how I started doing what I have right now. And since we started becoming a big woman community, sometimes they were like selfish, and sometimes they were like jealous in your results and not my results. So I started like making this weekly call to with all of them, and started talking about like kind of like mentorshiping.
Right.
Read them. And then I said, like, okay, this is like what are the 4 most important pillars as a woman that you need to work every single day? And I got to the conclusion that it was mental, spiritual, financial, and physical. And I said, now we're going to do the M.E.F.F call every week.
That's
so
awesome.
I started having people subscribing it to that call. So now we're like a bunch of girls talking about God, talking about how we look, the mentality, the optimism, like discipline, for example, how to make discipline part of your habits, not gratitude, for example. It's not only about discipline, but like having the discipline of being grateful every day, because sometimes we're just grateful when we're like super low, and then we have something good happen, and oh, thank you. You don't have to wait to lose everything to be grateful. You don't have to wait till that moment that you're like under the floor, like down there dying, and someone feed you and you're like, oh, thank you. No, be grateful because you don't have anything. Be grateful because you have everything. Like, be grateful as a habit. Make it as a habit, because when you're grateful, you see life different.
That's
so
right.
when you're depressed, when you're sad, when you're lonely, what can fight against that? The opposite, right? You can be happy and sad at the same time.
That's right.
How are you gonna make it happen?
Yeah.
Gratefulness. Be grateful. So we start having these calls with the girls, and some of them are moms, some of them are students, some of them just girls. And we started talking about like how important it is for you to find something on the side, right, that you can do from home without doing OnlyFans. Like, OnlyFans is not the only platform.
Oh, I was going to talk to you about that. Yeah.
So that's what I tell them. Like, there's so many ways to make money online. so many ways to make money online, but showing your body, like there you're not only making money, but losing your values. You're losing everything. You're selling everything beyond money. You know, once you step into that world, there is no way back.
Yeah.
And they don't understand it because they don't see the police on the way, right?
Right.
So I tell them like, it's good to have like the probably the most important thing that you can do and the best thing that you can do for yourself right now in 2024 is make money online. How? There's so many ways.
So many ways.
But easy money, easy goes.
Yeah.
Everything that comes easy, easy goes. I'm telling you, you want real results, it will take a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can make it happen. And so my goal is teaching women how to make money online without compromising their values, without getting into that root of like, I need to take a selfie and a bikini picture so I can make money and I can be beautiful and get likes. Likes doesn't take you anywhere.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
And I think that what you're saying, there's so many deep things that we can talk about when it comes to that, because you know when we're talking about OnlyFans and everything, I mean, I met one of the one girl, and she was doing OnlyFans, and then I found out that she was making about, I don't know, the
40K,
numbers.
50.
It was about 200K.
Yeah.
Month, I think. She says it was probably like on a weekly basis. I don't even know. The number was so big. I was like, that's incredible number. So I can see how it can be tempting to do that, but your values are gone. That's it. Once you get into that world, it's done. You know, it's very hard to get out of that. But this is where, you know, for us as men, it's a problem that we as men have to stand up for, because, and I always like to share this, and again, it's not to throw the men under the bus, but it's the same time, this is our responsibility, because the more we feed into that, all women are doing is supplying a need. It's like it's like a product, supply and demand.
Right. It's just like what you said. So men, money, right?
Right.
Woman, beauty, right?
Right.
Woman is beautiful. They're gonna use that for the purpose of
men. Right.
Men is gonna use that for the purpose of fitting their needs, be with the beauty, right? So it's like, at certain point, I've seen it with real, like I've lived it with my eyes, my body, like I've seen it in real life. A man saying like, oh, my woman can not do this X and Y, and then they go like this, and they're already like subscribe to OnlyFans and like following all those girls, like showing their bodies, and like they don't connect the dots, you know. So it's like either they stop doing that, because first of all, like pornography, for example, in OnlyFans, when they get really into that, why would you even go out and spend your money on a dinner with a date if you already supply your needs, right? There is no point. So they become this lazy type of men that now you see out there, you know, like there's just not need of going out anymore. There's just not need of, let me invite you, let me open the door, let me do this, right? Why? Because men have a need as an animal, right? Gone, they did it, whatever, easy.
Yeah.
They keep going their life, living their life, the best life, right?
Yeah. And
they lose the sense of like, kind of like pursuing the woman. It's hard to see that.
Yeah.
It's hard to see it. And as a woman, since you're getting what you want easier, and you don't have to work on your values, or maybe cook for someone, have good intentions for someone, take care of a home, not a house, but like a home. What would I, if I'm already making that money I wanted to? Like, it's not saying that it's wrong that a woman makes money. It's actually amazing. But like, if, you know, this type of girls normally, I don't want to say this type of girls.
Yeah.
Normally, they go like, oh, I make all this money. I won't accept X and Y. I won't do X and Y. And if I ever have a man, it has to be better than me, which is okay. But how is he gonna be better than you? In what sense? You know what I'm saying? So they don't connect their dots neither.
Right, because that's the whole thing, right? It's, you know, you find men, but at the same time, it's on a value based on currency. In other words, you know, women are making OnlyFans more than a guy is gonna make. I mean, it's crazy. So the amount is different. So she becomes completely dependent on herself. But this is what I always, you know, share with women as well, is And again, it's not to bring down women. It's completely the opposite. It's to uplift women. Again, I have a wife, and it's very important. Sometimes when she dresses a certain way, I'm always like careful. Hey, don't dress a certain way. But at the same time, I want my wife to look sexy for me, because I know for sure my neck is gonna go like this to the other side when I see another woman dress a certain way. So I need my wife to
I love that.
love herself and take care of herself too.
I love
Very
it.
important. So I'm not going to restrict that from her, because I know I'm going to turn my neck. So it's very important that we value ourselves, but at the same time, women need to understand that there's a validation. There's an expiration date. You're not going to look that same way forever. For guys, it's different. Guys can get older and they can find a 21-year-old, a 25-year-old.
They get older and richer, and that's it.
Exactly. So that's why I think women, you can't fall into that that mindset of, oh, we're going to change it and we're going to be this and we're going to be the boss and this and that. Be careful, because you're going to get to a certain point, but you're going to be alone. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, you can't change that. Can't change that.
Right. It's hard. I mean, I've seen it with my eyes too, because I've had friends before that they did OnlyFans, and it was crazy. I was like, showing me, and I was like, what? And as a woman, you feel tempted. It's like, I mean, I'm doing bikini competitions.
For a guy, I feel tempted. Yeah, it's crazy amount. You are tempted, and that's why I'm like, that's a lot of money.
But I'm telling you that if you work on yourself, if you work on something with purpose, that's going to be harder. But because it's harder, it's going to be as valuable as you are. And I'm telling you, if you want to call it, however you want to call it, I call it God. God is going to put someone in front of me as the way I want that person. And he's going to put that person just the way I dream it. And I'm ready right now. And I work in myself every day to be ready for that person.
There you go.
Because you don't know when that moment is going to be. You're not sure. But I know it's going to, one day it's going to be in front of me. And I better be ready for that person.
Absolutely.
And I better work on myself for that person. Not just like, oh, well, now I'm single and thinking about it, I need money. No. Instead of doing that, like, what am I going to work on myself to be better for that person that is coming up into my life one day? And how am I going to survive, right? What's going to be my purpose? What's this? What's that? So like myself, when I started doing all that I'm doing right now, I really, truly felt that was my purpose.
Right.
Talking to all these women, they look up to me, and sometimes I'm going through things, and then I have that call coming up, and I'm like, Jesus, please, just be you talking through me, because I'm going through a hard moment, just take over of the call. And I just jump into the call, not even preparing it, because I'm a human too, and even though that they think, sometimes we think people is so perfect on social media, and sometimes we see our mentors as like, wow, they have like the perfect life, they never cry, they never suffer, but like, we're humans, we're all humans, like normal humans, we breathe, and it's normal to cry, it's normal to be sad, it's normal to feel emotions, it's normal to feel angry, but what is not normal is not being able to control yourself. What are you gonna do to control yourself and be ready to react in those moments? That's the only thing you can change. You cannot change everything else,
That's right.
And so I truly believe that one day that person is gonna show up in front of me.
That's right.
And just sometimes you get overwhelmed and you cry and it's like, oh, this is not fair. And then you go like, God, please hurry up. But then you just relax, and then you say like, well, I'll respect your time.
Yeah, just don't think about it, because God has his timing.
Yes.
And things are going to fall into place. But again, when we put into work our part,
yes,
it's not just sitting down and just like, okay, I'm here waiting, but it's doing our part. It's how you carry yourself.
Exactly.
It's where you hang out. You talked about environment and places. I always share this with women. I'm like, I remember my wife's friends, they would come to the house and they were like, oh, I can't find nobody. Okay, so where have you been going to find this person?
Right.
Oh, I've been going to this club, this club, this club, this club. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. You're going to a certain place where people are there for one purpose only.
Exactly.
Okay? It's just a one-night stand. So you're not looking for someone that's serious about a relationship. Someone that's serious about a relationship, you're not going to a club to look for somebody. Okay? I'm not saying that you're going to find someone in the church, but that's a good place to start. But you need to network. You need to change your environment. Go to places where people are really having conversations.
Right.
You know, where you can have a conversation with somebody, get to know that person. And again, I am the last person to give single advice because I don't know what it is, and sometimes I have these conversations with people and I'm like, I don't know what it is. I don't know how the game is played out there now, but there's just common sense.
I'll tell you that it's super hard. But I'm going to tell you this. You mentioned to find someone. I would say that as a woman, you need just to focus on find yourself.
There you go.
For example, I'm that type of person. I've had 4 boyfriends in my life. And I'm the type of woman or the person that really attached to the men that I am with because my mom and my dad, they were separated. So I'm always trying to fill up the gap of my dad's space, right? Not looking for my dad.
Yeah.
But like dad mean protection.
It's what we call daddy issues, right? Well, some people will say, right? But it's a reality. It's a reality.
Yes.
Trust me.
And I realized that I was always trying to fill up that gap with my partner instead of filling it up with God. Yep. So now I feel in a stage of my life that I'm just focusing on finding my best version every day, so I'm ready for that person one day. If that person has to leave, it's going to leave, and I'm not going to suffer as much because that gap is already filled, And another thing is that I would say to women is to respect the time that you have by yourself.
Yep.
In a sense of like, if you're truly working on yourself, if you're truly working on your mental health, your how you look, how you feel, your emotions, yourself, your work, everything, like every aspect, like everything you see that it might need a little bit work, just put it all in. And eventually someone is just gonna appear. You will be ready for that person. Just don't start like going crazy, like you say, go to the nightclubs and you'll find like, you'll find him in a nightclub, you will leave him in a nightclub. You find him you will leave him there,
Exactly.
And so just like starting working on yourself, and that person will come because you attract what you want and what you are.
So that's good that you said that, because work on yourself, because then you're going to attract what you want, basically.
Yeah, that's different. Like,
and if you're broken up, you're all broken inside, you're going to attract the most negative person, the most.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
She's not like super close to me, but she said like, why don't you get in the dating apps? And I said, girl, because I'm working so much on myself that I know I have no need to be there.
Right.
I don't even know at this point how it works. And if I ever jump into that.
I met people that went on these apps and they're still together.
My best friend, she has her boyfriend. They're 2 years already, and they met in an app. So I'm like, okay, right now, let me let me work on myself. I'm just giving it a time that person might appear without me trying to chase it.
Yeah.
But I'll say just not get desperate. Because normally after you break up or after you're like lonely for so long, then you start like making so bad decisions. That's where that space, that time is where you comes out.
Yeah.
Sometimes people doesn't even have to talk about you, but you just act and they know and they see who you really are in those situations. Maybe you just broke up with someone, or maybe you just lose your job. And then you start like drinking, partying, or having all these girls and whatnot, or all these boys, or parties and yachts and whatnot. That's who you really are. Instead of focusing on improving towards the direction of what you want, you have to be able to feel that you deserve someone in the high level you want it. I'm an entrepreneur. I can do a lot of things because thanks to God, my business is working and I'm able to help, I'm able to do, and I'm able to take care of myself. But I want someone that is better than I am.
Yep.
So I know I have to work a lot in myself, my mental health, my spiritual, my relationship with God. So I'll be able to give that person that part, which is the most important as a woman. Because I'm going to be the one who's responsible of raising the kids. So I need to be inside, I need to be super prepared in order to transfer that to our family, you know?
There you go.
So that's why I want, for example, in my case, I want someone that is better than I am
Yeah.
in as an entrepreneur. Because it's hard, like we said, we look for protection, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen after,
Yeah.
you know?
And again, I always try to share that with my wife. My wife was always, she was always, you know, when she got here to the U.S., it was always you need to work. And, you know, I always had a different mindset. I want my wife to do what she loves doing. Today, she's doing what she loves doing. And she's figuring herself out. But I think for me as a man, I think it's super sexy that my wife can stay home. And if that she needs to take care of the kids, you know, we don't have kids yet. We've been married for 24 years, but now we're bored with each other. Now we're like, okay, we got to have kids. If it happens, it happens. But I think it is, for me, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
When a mom can take care of her kids and dedicate that time, because that is the best and that is the most important education that you can give to someone you're bringing into the world and prepare them for what's out there. Because when we have that separation, again, family has been completely destroyed in so many different ways, and especially that because it's putting so much pressure on women today. Again, this is another topic, and we'll probably have to bring you back for part 2. But it's this idea that women have to have the same role as a man. And I have an issue with that because, you know, again, I have a lot of conversations with women, and I remember being a manager at my office, and a lot of the women would complain to me, right? Because, you know, they were having issues with their spouses, with their husbands. And they would tell me, they said, well, look, I have to work 9 to 5. I have to get home, take care of the kids. I have to do this. I have to do that. So there was like a list of things that they had to do, a bunch of things they had to do. And then what happens is the husband wanted to be intimate, and she was not prepared for that because she was so stressed. She was so tired. For men, we are easy and we are ready immediately. But for women, it's different. And I remember a time when my wife was working and she was just stressed all the time. She would come home and she was stressed. And I was like, this is not good. Because as a man, I need to be intimate.
Right.
But for a woman, she needs to feel at a right place. So there's this huge pressure now on women to do all these things.
Right.
And then what happens is if you're not intimate at home, and again, remember, if you're not intimate at home and things are not working, what's going to happen is the guy is going to find it outside.
Yep.
You
definitely.
know? So those are things. And again, when we look at scripture, it's all here. The examples, the advice, it's all in here. If we apply it, we're going to see the benefit. If we don't apply it, we're going to see the consequences. And it's not God punishing us. It's just the way how human nature works.
Right.
That's how we were.
I agree. In what you just mentioned about I don't know. I think it's part of the society. I won't talk much deep about it, but they're trying to like brainwash us, like in a sense of like, oh, you know, now woman needs to like work a lot, and like now woman is like super independent.
Yeah,
and all
of course.
This, femininity.
Yeah.
And those, I find it nice. I find it amazing that a woman has a purpose.
Absolutely.
But I always say, like, you can't lose the actual what's your end goal. For example, I'm an entrepreneur. I work a lot, and still I make time to work on myself. Still I make time to grow spiritually. Still I make time to look good, go to the gym. You know, still I make time to take care of myself. And still, even though that whatever happened in my past with all my relationships, still with whatever happened with what I see, you know, I still believe that there is someone that is coming into my life that'll be the right person, and I need to be ready for that person because my end goal is become a mom, and I want to be for my kids. I want to be there for them.
That's awesome.
And so for me to do that, that's my end goal as a woman. I want to be the best mom of the world. I want to have that beautiful. I always said that I since I was a little kid, I put like this towel on the floor and all my toys, and I kind of like visualize myself in a Christmas with my family in a long table, like a long
That's
family.
awesome.
That's amazing. And if God wants it, I'll have it.
That's
I
right.
want it, but now I respect whatever God wants for me. So,
That's right.
but
You're working towards it.
right? I'm working towards it. If it happens, okay. If it doesn't, at least I know I have a purpose, and at least I know I'm doing something for me too. You know, because sometimes like we get to the point that we don't even have a purpose. We just exist and start becoming like living miserable, and we just don't even have like a road, and that's horrible. As a man and as a woman, as a man and as a woman, you're like, if you don't have a purpose at the end, like something that was your end goal, like you just go like this, nothing worked. Like you change your career every night. You know, it's crazy. That's very unstable. That's not healthy. So you need to find the purpose, and while you find it, you might find the person, or when you find it, you might find the person after. But you need to prepare yourself to be able to commit and do what woman came to the world to do, which is like nurturing society, because we grow our future's kids.
That's right.
And we need to really heal our past. For example, I never had my dad, and I had that issue. And you need to be able to forgive and heal, because you don't want to transpass that to your kids.
Exactly.
And your family.
Learn from the past.
Exactly.
Yep.
Even though I had bad relationships, I had bad experience, you need to forgive, heal, and then move on.
That's right.
Right? You can just try to heal and forgive having 10 other guys at the same time and stuff like, because that happens, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But you need to like let it go and realize that you need to work on yourself a lot in order for you to be ready for the end goal. Nowadays, women, they don't even want to have kids anymore. They don't want to men doesn't want to get married anymore. And it's sad, because that's the beauty of it. That's, you know,
it's how we were created, right?
Right.
So there is still hope out there. There's still groups of people just like us, just like, you know, people who are having that encounter with God, and we just have to realize that and see that it's happening, you know, and we just have to be faithful.
Yeah.
Be aware that God needs to be the center no matter what, and just continue on this journey. Just continue on this journey no matter what happens. Right. But yes, Maria, listen, there's so many things that are coming into my mind that we can talk about. You know, there's probably going to be a part 2 on this, but I'm super excited that you came onto this podcast and shared a little bit about your story, about, you know, your faith. And, you know, I know that God has big plans for you. And you made the best decision, the most important decision in your life, and that is giving your life to Christ through baptism. You died to that past, and now you're renewed in the presence of His grace. So I'm just super excited. Where can people find you on Instagram?
Social media, Maria Prieto Oficial. Maria Prieto official with only one F because it's in Spanish, but it's kind of like the same.
Yeah.
Maria Prieto everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Yep.
That's awesome. And guys, her audience is Spanish group, and she's over here killing the whole English here. She's like killing it. So super excited that, you know, you got to start doing some stuff in English.
So I'm trying to do like my stories, because sometimes people DM me like, hey, what did you say?
Yeah.
They kind of like the style of the content, but they don't really understand what I'm saying. I'm like, it's so hard. But I believe
now with technology, with AI, you can play with both.
For sure. I'll put the subtitles.
Yeah. So again, we're super happy that you came on the podcast. And again, guys, this is all sponsored by Creative Currency, the studio that we're in right now. And that's why we are able to do this podcast acts, and we're continuing to grow. Like, subscribe, and share. That's the most important thing, guys. So blessings. See you next time.